Hi, this video is for Dr. O'Connor's class, and today I'm going to share my IRI, my inventory reading assessment, on a student named Sammy. And I am going to first talk about the IRI assessment itself and then speak about some interventions that I think are necessary for Sammy's achievement. I began the IRI assessment with the WRI, the Word Reading Inventory, and Sammy is currently a 4th grade student, so we started 2 grades below his grade level, which is 2nd grade. And Sammy scored nearly a perfect score on the first column too. 1C was 25 out of 25, and the second column 24 out of 25, which was hopefully expected for someone his age. As you can see here, it's basically a perfect score. We moved on to the 3rd grade reading level, which is when Sammy started making some miscues with reading the words. And he got about a 21 out of 25 and a 22 out of 25, as you can see here. And it's with this WRI that I decided that the best would be to start the oral reading passage at the 3rd grade level, which is 1 grade level below Sammy's current grade level. And so, to my surprise, Sammy actually read very nicely. He had a bunch of miscues when reading and adding words here and there. I felt that he was reading relatively at a normal pace, but he seemed very monotone, very unexpressive in his reading. And the results showed that he was actually able to answer a lot of the literal questions, but struggled very much so with the inference questions and was not really able to match up the word definitions with putting them in the story. Even if he knew the actual definition of the word, he was having a lot of difficulty putting them together. And the oral reading passages, he scored much higher than the silent reading passages. I wasn't able to observe what his brain was thinking during the silent reading passage as I was with the oral reading, but he seemed interested in the story. He was laughing at the jokes, but evidently he wasn't really able to answer the literal or the inference questions so much from silent reading. So it was clear that even at the 3rd grade level, Sammy struggled, and we needed to I needed to perform some interventions. And some of the techniques, and our main goal, really the main goal for Sammy, is to raise his level of comprehension according to Bloom's taxonomy, is really to get him at that higher order thinking and to become a more fluent reader ultimately. And the first way in which to do that is to start with the basis and assessment, because assessment drives instruction. And so what I would suggest would be to use the RRI as the baseline and then to go from there. Currently, Sammy is reading Matilda in his literature group, and so it's really important to always start with a book that the student is already familiar with or has some background knowledge so that they feel successful. And although Sammy has read a few of these chapters already, I would use Matilda again to help him go over some of the concepts such as inferences. And I would actually pick passages that he's already been familiar with so that it helps activate his previous knowledge, and that would be where I would start. The first intervention would be the QAR, which is question and answering responses, and it would really get Sammy to start thinking, and hopefully that will help him. Another technique that I would use with Sammy is a graphic organizer. Sammy has a lot of difficulty putting the information into passages, into orders, and he forgets details such as names, and he was answering the question but not fully, wasn't getting all the full details. And I think that a graphic organizer would really help him and scaffold him in his thoughts, so he would be able to see the literal questions and then see how those literal questions overall are relating to an inference question, so that he can use that information to then make inferences and to take his thinking and to take his comprehension levels really to the next level. Another technique that I would use with Sammy is, is to ensure that he's doing a lot of independent reading with his family, and involving parent involvement is really important. And Sammy enjoys reading. He loves to read, and he loves to read with his father, and he gets very excited about reading, but he needs assistance, and to practice his silent reading will only make him more successful. And he clearly struggled with silent reading passages, and his father can sit with him and help him if he's struggling. They can do maybe a joint read aloud, and they can read together, and then Sammy can read to him, and then he can read silently to himself. And the more that he's doing and practicing and doing reading at home, the more successful and hopefully the better his comprehension will be. I plan to really observe Sammy and to ensure that his progress is being made. So to check in with him definitely weekly, and to do formal assessments in the classroom, even if it's just observation for a few minutes, to make sure that he's really engaged in his reading and seems to be making progress. And we definitely are going to check in with the school psychiatrist and the curriculum director and the co-teachers to make sure everyone's at the same page with Sammy, and to loop his parents in and to make sure they're involved in the process as well. We actually this year think that Sammy would be best being held back a grade, even though that comes with a lot of complications. Overall, he falls into the category of special education, and we hope that these interventions, plus being able to really be at his grade level, would help him feel more successful. And that's our goals for Sammy, and I hope he's more successful in the future.